All right, so I wanted to say something before I start this video. I make a lot of these videos because I think that people either are missing something in the Bible or I have learned something I want to share. But sometimes I just hear so much crazy talk, it starts to drive me crazy, and I feel like I start to lose my insanity, so I have to say something. So that's why I'm talking today, because I feel like I've just heard so much crazy talk. And the crazy talk I've heard people talk about is regarding the two greatest commandments. And when the Pharisees and the teachers of the law asked Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? He says to love God, but there's actually two great commandments. It's to love God and to love your neighbor as yourself. The craziness comes in where people somehow say, well, it's actually not two commandments, it's actually three. Jesus is telling us to love God, love our neighbor, and love ourselves. And I feel like there's so much to say about this, but simply put, Jesus is talking to the most self-righteous, arrogant, prideful, I think I'm awesome kind of people out there. He's not telling these Pharisees or teachers of the law, man, you got to work on loving yourself better. He's not. And if you look at the words Jesus is using, he's saying there's two, not three commandments there. And he's saying what the two are. There's no instruction to love ourselves, but somehow we've made it into, I need to love myself better. And I guess a way that I would use to describe like just this small passage is like if I were to look at you and say, hey, you know that red bike that you have? You know, the one with the bell and the basket and the nice, like brakes that stop really good. Um, Real shiny bike. You know that bike that you have? Go buy one for your friend. Now, the problem is if you didn't have that bike, your first response to me would not be, I better go buy that bike, because I never instructed you to do that. Just as Jesus never instructed people to love themselves. The premise is already that you have the bike. The premise is already that they love each other. That they love themselves, I mean. And now they need to go love one another and other people. So, but somehow we've jumped from there to, well, I need to love myself. It's an excuse for like self-idolatry. And my problem is if we read through the Bible, we never see an example where Jesus is telling us you need to love yourself, or Paul is saying, you know what, true love is when you are making sure you're just the most important person in your life. Because if we look at the definition of love, the purest form of love, it said Jesus gave up his life. That's the best form of love, laying your life down. Not, no, look out for me first. And we're worried, oh, if I don't look out for me, then no one's going to look out for me. And that's not true. That's not how Christianity works. They'll look out for you and you'll look out for them. But we're so worried about us. But the Bible says, you know what, don't worry about you. Think of others as more important than you. It'll be okay if you don't think about yourself all the time. And I guess what the scary part is Paul's talking to Timothy. I don't know if it's 1st or 2nd Timothy, but he's talking to Timothy and he says, in the end times and the last days, things will be destructive, things will be evil, things will be messed up. It depends on which translation you read. Things will be extremely horribly going wrong. And then he explains why they'll be going horribly wrong. And you know what he says? The reason things are wrong, the reason things are destructive is because people will be lovers of themselves. So I can't reconcile that things are wrong because people love themselves, and also reconcile, man, I need to learn how to love myself better. That makes me think, man, that's dangerous, and we got to be careful. And we got to read this Bible not self-seeking, but wanting to lay down ourselves to understand better. Otherwise, we're going to get some weird gospel where there's 3 great commandments and there's only 2. So, man, these people that are posting this stuff, or these people that are saying these things, or the pastors that talk about it up front, drive me crazy. And I just have to say this, and if we just humble ourselves a little bit and read this Bible, man, that's my hope that we'll do that, and we'll come to more unified conclusions, and we'll be more worried about doing a true definition of what love looks like to the people around us rather than self-seeking, self-idolatry, and love. Because, man, love it's not about that. So go read Corinthians chapter 13, go read what Jesus says about love, and go read what the greatest love is, and see if maybe you should be loving yourself or more worried about loving others. So, yeah, read that Bible, get into it, and hopefully I won't go too crazy over many more things like this. So, all right, see ya.